Oh, listeners, hello and welcome to the Love Your Life show. It is me, Susie Pettit, your certified life, relationship, and wellness coach. And yet I bring a really big expert on the show today, a repeat performance. We've had her on before, and she was so helpful. You guys have said you're still doing the things she talked about in that first episode. And so I'm like, let's get more. We women can want more. Let's do it. And so we have Megan Dahlman back on the show. She has become the sought after trainer for women over 40 who want to feel their physical best for years to come. She has a degree in exercise science and a certified strength and conditioning specialist. She has an uncanny ability of taking complicated aspects about our body and making them simple, doable, and sustainable. She did that on this show today. So if you're feeling confused about like, oh my gosh, what should I do? There's so much information out there, or how do I live to be my strongest, best, awesome warrior self? Like, this is the episode for you. Megan is amazing at this. She has online training programs and courses where she gently leads every woman she interacts with and coaches through this process with she has just such grace and patience. I love talking to her. This conversation felt like a warm hug, and her mission is, and just one that speaks to my heart. It's to help every woman, no matter their age, feel strong, pain-free, and confident in all aspects of their body. Did you hear that? No matter their age. So that mindset that's like, oh, this is just because I'm getting older. Listen in. She's got some specific tips and support for us. Thank you for being here, listener. Let's go, Megan. Okay, listeners of the Love Your Life show, I have a repeat treat. Look at me rhyming. And I have Megan on the show today. Welcome Megan to the Love Your Life show. I continue to hear from listeners about how helpful the information you shared on our last conversation about like mobility and feeling better in our bodies and our sore shoulders and sore hips and all that. And I will link that below if someone somehow missed that episode, but how that really helps them a lot. And I just want you to know that, it just shines on. So thank you for coming on here.
Well, thank you for having me back, Susie. It's always such a joy to talk to you. And you just radiate joy. And we were talking about the weather right before we hopped on, before we hit record. And I'm like, just in this miserable, like winter here. And you're in lovely Australia at the moment. So I'm absorbing your
Absorb.
joy.
I'm bringing you the sun from the southern hemisphere in
Yeah.
summer to your winter. Yes, it is. It is nice. Which is the Love Your Life show. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to figure out how to love our everyday lives, not just the lives on vacation, but that like sitting at the desk feeling all creaky and cranky. And so I wanted you back on to pick your brain a little for all of us who want to continue living or maybe live a little more so feeling strong and mobile in our body. Yet I hear from lots of people that they feel overwhelmed, stressed, not sure where to begin. And so maybe they'll start one thing and stop and start and stop. And I'd love it if you could just help us, talk to that listener who wants to stay strong and mobile, midlife and beyond, but feels confused and overwhelmed. What do you think she needs to
Yeah,
hear?
I actually had a conversation with someone just yesterday, and she was telling me all the things that she had tried. She's like, I'm doing bar, and every so often I'll do like a Pilates class, and I'll try some yoga, and then I have my physical therapy exercises. And really, that was her frustration too, is she was like, I feel like I have all this information coming at me from all these different directions, and I don't know how to put it all together. And I
Mhm.
don't know what's the most important thing for my body right now. So I think sometimes it's helpful to step back and think, well, what does your body need the most right now in this phase of life? And there's several aspects of your fitness that are the most important. And then we can ask, well, are all of those types of exercises going to fit the bill for the things that your body needs right now? So the things your body needs most for your overall fitness is we do need cardiovascular health. We need muscular strength. We need flexibility, joint mobility. We need balance. We need coordination, and we need power. So those are
Mm.
6 different pieces of health. And if all you're doing is working on flexibility, a really important component of your fitness, if all we're doing is working on flexibility or joint mobility, and we're never working on muscular strength or cardiovascular health, it'll always feel like something's missing. It'll always be
Mhm.
like, I just don't feel like I'm as fit as I could be. Or if all you're ever doing is cardio and you're not working on your balance
Mhm.
or your muscular strength, once again, it will feel like something's missing. So we just want to make sure that the routine that you decide to commit to, or the first step forward, is pointing you in the direction of, let's make sure that each of these components of your fitness are being met so that you can be as strong and fit and confident as as you can be for decades to come. And so those are kind of the different components that matter the most. And some popular workouts out there will fit that bill and some don't. So
Mm.
it's helpful to kind of understand, well, what should I even be training? And then that helps to remove some of the overwhelm.
Oh my gosh, that's so helpful. Like I was writing those down like real fast. I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Because I know like that just gives us sort of a lighthouse to like aim towards those six things. And when I think of myself in my past, there are some I was definitely like cardio was basically all I did. Like really
Right.
like I mean sure like because I ran and did my Jane Fonda step aerobics like
Yeah,
on
right.
videotape.
Yeah.
Aging myself here like every other day. And so sure, like I'm getting some balance and whatever in that, but mostly it's cardio. And it's so
Yeah.
interesting. Like I'm thinking of a pie chart. If I had a pie chart, it'd be like 90% cardio and just having those six things there to look at and to see where, no, we don't need to be perfect in all of them, but to at least
Right.
consider them. I love that. I'm like, okay, conversation over. Let's go
Yeah,
ahead. That's
I know
really
it helps to simplify it, and you're right. It's like your North Star. And um, I was the cardio queen too, and I think so much of us were like coming out of the '90s and the early 2000s. It
Mhm.
was like for many of us, fitness was all about maintaining good body composition. Like that
Hmm.
was kind of
Yes.
a lot of us women. That's kind of all we really did fitness for,
Yeah.
was to not be
To look a
overweight,
certain way. Yes.
to look a certain way. And
Yes.
so we all gravitated towards the thing that said it burned the most calories. We were
Hmm.
kind of calorie driven when we were choosing our fitness. And so that's why so many of us women flocked towards cardio, because it seemed to, we know
Hmm.
better now that it's not the best method for fat loss, but it seemed to be the right thing to do to just not be overweight.
Hmm.
But we didn't realize that in that process, we weren't doing enough for our muscular strength. We were barely working on our joint mobility. Coordination was not getting, unless you're doing Jane Fonda. I got to tell you,
Right.
like those, some of those aerobics
So
classes,
good. I know. I
you
love
will
Jane Fonda.
really work your coordination. I did a Zumba class one time and I felt like such a fool in the back of the class. And I'm like, oh boy, coordination here. This is
Yeah,
really
you know
targeting.
what? That's so good because when I was writing that down, I was like, oh, coordination, I do not have, but you're right. When I was doing that step thing, yes, so there you
It can
go.
be trained, yes.
Right.
And
It
it
can be
is a
trained.
really important piece of our fitness, and then power too. So, like,
Mm,
especially as we get older, when you don't have some of these, if all you have is a strong heart,
hmm.
cool. Your
Right.
heart muscle is really strong. You've got a really strong cardiovascular system. You
Hmm.
go get your blood work done. Your cholesterol numbers are great. Triglycerides are great, but you have no muscular strength, or your joints don't have flexibility,
Hmm.
or your balance is poor, or you lack coordination and you're really clumsy, you are at such greater risk of injury, catastrophic injury,
Hmm.
losing your bone density. I mean, all of these issues that now, as women in midlife, we're suddenly aware of, and we're like, oh my goodness, I really do need to be doing more than just one thing.
Hmm. Well, and to speak a little to this body composition and what we look like, we are a culture that puts a lot of emphasis on women and how they look. And so I know all of us out there, most of us are still like, yeah, well, that is a consideration when we're thinking of our fitness. Like what gets us, it's all, to me, it's all sort of like mixed in and I have to like separate it out and just, be like, yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
exercising for your mental health and you're exercising so your kids like don't have to get you up off the toilet every,
Right.
like that
Right.
that sort
Yes.
of stuff. But I think it's helpful to just as we reach midlife to rethink some of the ways that we were thinking that skinny or looking a certain way is the most important versus, I've heard Dr. Von der Wright say strong, not skinny. And I think the next generation coming up is doing a little more of that. But for us, to what you were just speaking of is, maybe our heart looks good, but I think some of us are like, yeah, well, we still want to look good in our clothes. But
Right.
if we have one little tumble or we catch the stair a little bit wrong and we go down on our wrist and our wrist isn't strong and we break our wrist or we go down and break our hip or that's where the trouble comes in. So it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
if we look good in our little white capris. It's
100%. And I will say too that in the pursuit of true fitness, like if you really are pursuing all of those six aspects that we were talking about of like being as fit as you possibly can be across the board, guess what? Your body composition is going to follow suit. It's
for sure. Yeah.
it doesn't work the other direction. If all you're caring about is just how you look in your clothes, it doesn't also check the boxes of being as healthy and fit as you can
Mm,
be. We now live in a world that you can just take medication to lose weight.
mm-hmm.
And we're seeing that just by doing that, it doesn't automatically make you a really healthy person. But
Mm-hmm.
if you go the other direction and say, I am going to pursue all of these, like my fitness routine is going to cover the bases, and I am going to pursue and be as healthy of a person as I can be, 9 times out of 10, your body
Yeah.
composition is going to improve as well.
Mm-hmm.
Another question I really love asking women, especially at the beginning of their fitness journey, is especially when one of their goals is to lose weight, is to improve their body composition. One thing I ask them, especially if they're struggling, and they're not seeing the scale move,
Yeah.
they're getting frustrated about it because it is one of their goals. I say, let's fast forward 6 months from now. Okay, so let's say you're doing all of these things. You're following your program, you're being consistent. Let's say that you improve your strength like crazy. Let's say we get rid of a ton of the pain that you're dealing with on a daily basis.
Mm,
Let's say that your mobility improves a lot. You have way more confidence as you go throughout the day. Let's say that all of those blood markers improve. You go to the
mm.
doctor and your doctor's like, wow, your blood
What
results
have
came
you
back
been doing? Right. Yeah.
fantastic. Let's say your bone density improves. You're no
Mm,
longer osteopenia or osteoporosis. Like
mm,
you see those numbers improve. So across the board, everything improves, and yet your scale number is the exact same.
mm,
Would it still be worth it?
mm.
And when you put it in that perspective for a
Yeah.
lot of women, it's like, oh, you're right. My health, my fitness is about so much
Mm-hmm.
more than just how much body fat I have. And so it's helpful to be okay, that can be one of your goals, but let's also make sure that you have some other really valuable health goals for yourself along the
Mm-hmm.
way.
Well, and this is how it all goes together. Like, like you're saying, all these six pieces go together, but it's also our physical health goes with our mental health because I do feel that as we're growing up and maybe getting out of our 20s when we're like, it's only cardio and I need to look good in that, those pants, we also are growing up in our mindset and being like, wait a minute, is it all just about the pants? Doesn't it matter if exactly as you're saying, like if I'm sitting in those pants, but everything's aching, or I'm sitting in those
Right.
pants and my numbers are sky high, or I'm sitting like to just be widening our lens of what health is. And then also mental
Yeah.
health. Like, are we really defining ourselves barely just on a number on a scale? Like, could we just stop doing that and just say that that's one, factor, that's one metric that we can look at, but
Right.
maybe we can get more into our, mature and more supportive thinking where it's like I'm so much more than a number on the scale and what, I've been trained to believe from the beginning. I really
Forever, I know.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and I've heard the phrase from a lot of women, and I'm sure you've heard it too, where they say, I feel like I'm just falling apart.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm
Yeah.
falling apart. And when you dig underneath the surface of like, well, what does that mean? It probably, sure, they might have felt like they've put on, 5, 10, 15 pounds in the last few years and not really sure why. I haven't done anything different, but usually it means so much more than that. It feels like as you go about the day, You're not as confident in how you move. You feel like you're more fragile. If you move a certain way, you might throw your back out,
Mm-hmm.
or like your knees are now hurting and you're hesitating to go ride your bike with your kids or your grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
Your mental health might be your mood, like you're saying, just
Mm-hmm.
your mental health just feels depressed and discouraged all the time. And that's closely connected to the way you feel about your body. You don't have confidence in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think sometimes when we say something like, I feel like I'm falling apart, when we go inside and really break down what that means to you personally, usually it's more than just, I've put on some weight.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
other things in there that make us feel like I'm falling apart. And what's cool is that many of those things once you nail it down of what do you mean when you say that, many of those things have very clear solutions. And that's what I
Yeah.
love helping women with. It's like, oh, your back hurts. Okay, cool. That's one of the ways you feel like you're falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Let's go pursue some solutions for that. Your knees hurt. Okay, let's fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Your mental health. Okay, let's work on that. So we tend to get in this like fuzzy area where all we know how to do is just say, I feel like I'm falling apart, and we don't know what to do about it.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I love listeners of the show. Like people clicking on the
Yes.
show are looking for that, like, because they're really, it's like a pivot in the road I see where you can have your knees hurt, you can have, you can gain like an extra 5 pounds overnight and you're like, did I get that from breathing?
Yeah.
All these, and you can think one way, like, oh, this is just aging, this is what it is, okay. And you can find people that are going to support you in that thinking and we'll all just get together and complain about it. Or you can go another way and be like, no, this isn't how I'm going to age. There are different ways of it. Okay, my knees are hurting. Let me figure out. Let me listen to that show with Megan and see, like, how do I get my
Yeah.
knees to stop hurting? Or another thing you said that I know many people are not aware of is that once you get that first diagnosis of osteopenia or osteoporosis, you can reverse it. People have like it is something. It's not just like, oh, you have this and now you're destined for life to have frail bones. Like there are things we can do. Knee pain, there are things we can do. I really appreciate you bringing this openness and like, yeah, we can do things with this. So can you with your I'm just trying to see if we're frozen. Oh, you can still,
Okay, there we go.
yeah.
Yep.
With your expertise, like can you speak to the listener who specifically, like, we have these 6 things, maybe, like, I'm thinking, where should she start? First of all, look at her
Yeah.
pie chart. Like, where is she overly heavy, and try to look at some of those other things. But what
Yeah.
if, could you do a little, yeah, where should she start for like something like flexibility? The ones that I'm thinking people are not doing so much. I guess flexibility they might be doing in yoga, but power, balance,
Yeah.
coordination.
Yeah. I think one thing that's helpful to look at is like all of those are pieces of movement. Those are all different ways to move. And so if you're not moving at all
Mm-hmm.
right now, like if
Mm-hmm.
you're like 90 to 95% of your day, if you're very sedentary,
Mm-hmm.
don't worry about the chart yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like we
Mm-hmm.
can get there. Just start moving somehow in a
Mm-hmm.
way that feels familiar. So
Mm-hmm.
if you start moving in familiar ways, trying to learn something new,
Mm-hmm.
that's a barrier. It takes a lot of energy to learn something new. So
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to pull out something that you've maybe done before, or usually the easiest way to get yourself going is just start going on walks.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of
Yeah.
the simplest things to do. Start going on walks, like just start moving. So if you're doing nothing, that should be your number one goal right now. Don't worry about
Mm-hmm.
anything else. Just see if you can start doing something active each day for like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I love
That's
that.
it. Don't give yourself this lofty goal of, okay, I'm going from nothing to like 60-minute workouts every
Right.
week.
And I'm going to do all
Like
these
every
things
day.
and I'm doing right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that we instantly will get overwhelmed by that
Mm-hmm.
and instantly feel like a failure because that's just too much. So we just need to get you moving somehow every day a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then, once you have that in place and that ball is rolling and you're like, okay, now I'm someone who just moves every day. Let's get a little bit more specific and strategic about what it is that I am doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at something like walking. Walking is great movement. You can walk briskly and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to increase your heart rate. It's great for cardiovascular health. It gets some of those lower cardio zones. So,
Mm-hmm.
like zone 1, 2, 3, like we're going to hit those. That's great. Couple things that walking doesn't do though is work on your muscular strength. When you first start walking, you'll be
Mm-hmm.
working those muscles more than you had been. So you'll probably feel stronger already, but there's comes a point where it's
Right.
not gonna
Yeah.
check that
You
box very
balance
much.
out.
Mobility, it's not gonna work your joint mobility as
Mm-hmm.
much as you need. Balance, coordination,
Mm-hmm.
power. So we want to start moving in the direction of let's do a simple fitness routine that does like lower body strengthening, upper body strengthening, core strengthening. And
Mm.
that's a great place to start with the strength piece is like, let me pick one lower body exercise, one upper body
Mm.
exercise, and one core exercise. And a good lower body
I
one is
love
just
it.
working on squats,
Mm-hmm.
just find a chair and try to sit into the chair, but like don't like lean into it, like just brush your bum on the bottom
Mm-hmm.
of the chair and then stand back up and do that 10 times. There's a lower
Mm.
body. Go into your kitchen, put your hands on the edge of the countertop and do push-ups against the
Mm.
countertop. There's an upper body exercise. For your core, a really great core exercise, one of my favorite ones that checks off a lot of boxes. It's actually going to check off the coordination box too, are bird dogs. Have you
Mm.
done bird dogs, Susie? You know what I'm talking
Yes.
about?
Yes.
Okay. They're
Yeah.
a silly name,
I know.
but
I don't quite get why they're called bird dogs, but I
I
like, yeah.
think so. I had a bird dog, like a dog that was actually He was a Vizsla, and so he was like actually a pointer. He was a pointer, and that's like when they stand,
Ah,
like they're pointing at a bird, they
okay.
like point forward and backward. I think that's where it gets its name
Okay.
from. So
Yeah.
essentially, the bird dog, you're on your hands and knees, and you have the opposites lifted, and you're holding steady, and it's a really good core exercise. You can do it standing if you need to with your hands on a chair. But
That's true. I didn't
there you
even think
go.
of that.
So
Yeah.
lower body, upper body, core.
So
We
easy.
got we got coordination and balance on one of
Mm-hmm.
those, that bird
Yeah.
dog that hit that. And I love doing some stretches for, upper body, lower body stretch, like a good upper body stretch. You can go into a doorway and have your arms on the edges of the doorway, like the door jamb, and step your
Mm.
chest through. That's a
Mm.
great mobility stretch. Lower body, a great lower body stretch is to just do a hamstring stretch. So you could sit
Mm.
on the edge of your chair, extend one leg out straight, and get your hamstring. And so now we've done a little bit of flexibility work, um, coordination, power.
I
Yeah,
have a question. I'm like a student here. I have a
do it.
question
Yep,
about
stop me when
flexibility.
you need to.
Yeah,
Please do. Yeah.
flexibility. Like if I am sitting on the couch reading and I'm just feeling a little tight, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna stretch. So I'm totally cold. And then I sit down and stretch, and it like first of all, is that just bad? Second, I'm tight, but I then try to like hold it. So for some reason
Hmm.
I feel really good. Like when I do that hamstring stretch or when I straddle out like I used to in like gymnastics and try to
Yeah,
lean
yeah.
forward. And there's a point when I do that and I feel like so rickety, and then I sort of just hold and try to breathe and loosen my muscles and lean in. But I honestly don't know if I'm doing damage or like,
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good question. So there are two different styles of stretching. Stretching period, if you've never stretched before, you rarely do any kind of stretching is good. Like
okay.
do anything, okay? But it is helpful to know that there's two different kinds of stretching. There's static stretching and dynamic stretching. So static stretching is like a sit and hold style stretch. Dynamic stretching is where you're kind of moving through the stretch. Think like
Hmm.
yoga moves. Like
Hmm.
you're doing something where you're kind of like
Hmm.
pressing into the stretch and then easing back off of it, pressing in and
Hmm.
easing back off. Dynamic style stretching is actually the more effective one
Hmm.
for improving the length of your muscles, so actually becoming more flexible,
Hmm.
improving your mobility around a joint. Dynamic stretching is better. It's also better when you're stiff
Hmm. Okay.
because it's going to create a little bit of a pump in your muscles and in your joints where it kind of pumps the fluid and helps kind of lubricate a little bit better.
Hmm.
So if you are sitting, you haven't done anything, doing a dynamic style stretch is really great. So if we take I use the
Perfect.
doorway stretch as an example for the upper body. If you
Hmm.
just stand in the doorway and like press your chest through and then back it off, and then press your
Hmm.
chest through and then back it off, it's almost like you're creating this like pump.
Mm.
That's going to turn what might be a familiar static stretch into a dynamic stretch. It won't
So
feel quite so
helpful.
stiff
I'm
and
trying that
achy.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the other components are coordination and power. Now, power is one of those things, it is really important as we get older.
Mm.
Um, and what power is basically, I know it sounds confusing. We all like picture like powerlifting, like Olympic
Yeah.
lifting. We're like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, do I have to take this giant bar and like fling it over my head
Right.
to do power training?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So, right. So what
Mm.
power essentially is your ability to contract your muscles strong, but also fast.
Mm.
So if we were to take like a squat, you sit slow into the chair and then you stand up slow and controlled. There's not a lot of power there.
Mhm.
But if you were to sit low into the chair and then jump up,
Mm.
that would be power. That's where your
Mm.
muscles are contracting quickly. And when your muscles are able to do that, they're less likely to get injured in a lot of everyday movements.
Mm.
There's a lot of times where, like, maybe you're walking on slippery sidewalk and your foot like slides out to the side.
Mm.
Your muscles need power in that moment to
Mm.
contract really fast. And when you don't have it, that's where we get like, I tore my muscle,
Mhm.
I pulled him up, I pulled my hammy.
Go. Yes. Exactly. Just been at the
That's what's
store. Right.
going on,
Mhm.
is that those muscles didn't have power. So the best times to train power are when you already have a good strengthening base.
Mhm.
So if you've already been exercising and doing the other components of your fitness, like the five other ones, for like 3 or 4 months,
Mhm.
and you've got a pretty good base going, then we can introduce power. So power is one of those things we kind of wait till the end to start
Mhm.
to introduce it. We have it in mind. It's something that we do eventually need to work on, but we might not work on it right out of the gate, and that's okay. So those are kind of the big picture components, and we can do, train the big picture components within 10 minutes a
That's
day.
so great. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
making this really simple, and I'm hoping the listener is feeling encouraged and like taking notes and just being like, yeah, I can start with these like three things right now.
Yes.
Can you just give us like one or two examples of how, for that listener that has been working for 3 or 4 months and has that base, like what are one or two things she might do to add power in?
A great thing to do is what I mentioned, is like kind of like squat jumps, like
Okay.
take a squat and just doing it faster.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing lateral skater hops. Those are really good
Yeah.
power and balance. My favorite exercises are ones that like hit multiple things at once. So the
Yeah.
skater hops are power and
Well, that's a
balance as
motion my body isn't usually taking, like side to side versus front
well.
to back. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm glad you mentioned that, because you're right. It's a motion. Moving laterally is a movement that we don't train enough. And that's usually the directions we get hurt,
Hmm.
when we're
Okay.
suddenly having to like quickly step sideways or catch yourself. Like I mentioned, like your
Yeah, on the
foot
side.
slips out to
Right.
the side. That's where something can get pulled. So hopping side to side, maybe where you like try to leap really big, like once you feel like you've got good balance, now you try to make that leap a little bit bigger and you try to stick the landing really well. That's a great example
Yeah.
of power
Yeah.
training. Another one that's really fun is if you do have access to a gym and they have medicine balls.
Hmm.
Those are the big weighted balls. Those are really fun to slam around. To just
Oh,
take a
okay.
ball and bring it over your head and like slam it down on the floor really, really hard,
Oh,
fast. That is good power training for your entire body. So your whole body is having to like power up or power
yeah, your
down.
core. Okay.
Your core, your legs, everything is like pulling fast, contracting at a fast pace. So power training gets to be like really fun.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
fun type of training. But it's the kind of exercises like I wouldn't do that with you until I knew that your technique
You've
was
got the
really
other,
great.
right.
You've got
Yeah.
a good base, and um, I know you can do it without hurting yourself.
Right. Well, and that, I guess that's one thing I really want listeners to hear and that you're really good at is because sometimes they might hear, the Instagram post or the clip somewhere that's like, go to the strength training. Women that are older need strength training. So let's go to the gym. And it's like, let's throw a medicine ball around. And then they're like, wait a minute, I just injured myself and I can't move
Right.
for 3 months. So that's
Yeah,
that
and
is start
it's
small.
you start small and you got to ease into it,
Mhm.
because we can take bone building, for example, like improving bone density. We
Mm-hmm.
know that
Yes, please.
strength training is really important, impact is really important. So both the resistance load and the mechanical load of impact, those are really important for building stronger bones. But when you're working on like building stronger bones, you need to remember like, oh wait, you also have muscles and tendons and
Mm-hmm.
ligaments that are undergoing the same amount of impact.
Mm-hmm.
If you go straight into really hard pounding impact stuff.
Mm,
So you really cannot go straight into like the heavy jumping or heavy lifting that
mm-hmm.
is ultimately very, very good and healthy for your bones and your muscles. You have to ease into that properly. Your tendons are not 20-year-old tendons anymore.
Mm-mm.
And your technique matters more now than ever. Also, your muscle fibers, they just take a little bit longer to heal. When
Mm-hmm.
muscle fibers
Definitely notice
in
that.
your 20s, they might have taken like 24 to 48 hours to heal. Your muscle fibers now might take 72 hours to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And so things just take, it's just a little bit of a slower, steadier forward progress. So progression, like easing in, slowly building up, is important now more than ever.
And I really appreciate you speaking to that. And I think a lot of listeners are just in that overwhelm and that confused place of like, wait a minute, I know I should be doing this. I know I should. And so then they're either not doing anything or they're getting in and doing too much. And I just want to direct listeners to your Instagram and your videos because they are really helpful and your programs to get started in that slow way is really helpful. And when we're feeling this confusion, to like confusion is such a wasted energy. And as a thought
I
coach, I'm
know.
always like, we just need to decide something. And if today just listening, and for my listener that's the little planner and got their sheet, it's like get out your calendar and just say like for this month I'm doing these three things that Megan just told me about, the lower, the upper, and the core. And I'm going to start walking, that's the first week, and then I'll start walking, and then like, and just the building.
Yep.
So permission to build, take the confusion out of it, that you're
Yes.
not doing too little, you're not behind, you're not like, oh my gosh, I need these 1,400 exercises at the gym. It's just the starting of the slow, um, and moving in. It,
Yeah.
can you speak a little as to when you hear people getting started, what you see any of like the big psychological barriers being like when there's
Yes. There's hundreds of them.
there really are. It's so I know, I'm like get in those
I
heads. I'm
know the
like remove them.
psychological barriers are huge. And I think the biggest ones, especially as women in midlife get into, is we want to do things really, really well.
Hmm.
We If we commit to something, it can sometimes take us a while to fully commit to something. We like to do our research. We like to make sure it's the right thing. And ideally, you're not jumping straight into something. Maybe you've
Hmm.
planned ahead and you've thought it through, and so you're very intentional about what you are going to do. But then you come into it with this perfectionist mindset of like,
Hmm.
I have to do each piece of this perfectly before I allow myself to progress onward. And so one of the biggest struggles that we have is getting stuck in this infinite loop of starting,
Mm. Yes,
always
yeah. And
starting
like letting
and
ourselves
never,
down. Yeah.
yeah, like always
Hmm.
stepping onto the first step and then never getting up to step two because we
Yeah.
feel like I didn't do step one good enough. And so I'm just going to
Hmm.
stay here at step one until
Yeah.
it feels perfect. And
Mm.
I will say right now, it's never going to be perfect.
Hmm.
And the goal is to start with step one being easy enough that stepping up to step two, you're not in danger because you moved
Hmm. Good
to the
point.
next
Yeah.
step.
Hmm.
We can keep you progressing onward. And that's what I say to everyone in my program. Like, don't get stuck on a day. Like, if you
Mm.
missed a day, just water under the bridge, just
Yeah.
move forward because we will just get stuck in this loop of feeling like I have to check off every box before I
Mm.
move on. Or maybe you got to the end of a program and you're like, okay, I'm looking at the next program, the next step in the progress. But I look back over the last 30 days and gosh, there's so many things I feel like I could have done better.
Mm.
I
Oh
always
yeah.
think that I
Coulda,
could
shoulda,
have done
woulda.
that so much better.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
you're like, so I'm going to go back and do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no, don't do
Just,
that.
yes, keep
Don't
going.
do that. And
Mm,
this is where the nature of this is just looking at our insufficiencies and
hmm
our failures, essentially, of
mm,
all the ways that we didn't cut it, all the ways that we didn't do it good enough. And thinking that way is always going to prevent us from progressing forward. And
yeah.
so if you get to, let's say, a 30-day program, most of my programs that I have are 30 days. Most of the women that get to the end and would say, like, I didn't do it good enough, usually might have missed like 3, 4, maybe 5 days
hmm
along the way. I'm like, okay, you missed 5 days. That means you did 25
25
days.
days.
When
Yes.
was the last
Yeah.
time you did 25 days? That is still considered consistency.
Yeah.
Like, that's still like, chalk that
I'm
up to
like,
a
even
huge
2 days,
victory.
it's like it's better than no days. That's the, yeah. Like
100%.
Newton's law,
100%.
like a body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest. Like we need to keep going. I really
Just
appreciate, yeah.
keep the momentum going. And one like mental mindset shift, I think is really big breakthrough for a lot of women is when it comes to our health and fitness, we always feel like, well, I'm trying. I'm trying to eat better. I'm trying to exercise more. I'm trying to move every day. I'm trying, we use the word trying a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And with try, it kind of gives you a pass fail grade. Like
Mm-hmm.
I tried to drink all my water today. Did you do it? No. Did you do it? No. Like,
Right. Yeah,
yes or
yeah,
no.
yeah. Like
It's
good
like
or
yes
bad
or
girl.
no.
Yeah.
But instead of saying I'm trying, say I'm training
Hmm.
to do that.
Yeah.
I'm training to eat better. I'm training to exercise more. I'm training to be more active every day. That has such a different
Yeah, that
connotation.
is
It
it. I
almost
love
like
that.
assumes that you won't do it right at
Yeah.
first, right?
Yeah.
It assumes that you're an apprentice and you're
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
And and so I
I'm
think when you
training feels like empowering. I'm trying is like, yeah, well, watch out because you're not going, we know you, like
well,
that.
you didn't do it, yet you messed up
Yeah.
again.
I love that.
And so just coming into your journey with that different mindset shift of like, no, it's not a trying or not trying thing. It's a I'm training to do this better. And then you can start to see those little victories as proof that you are
Mm,
improving. And
mm.
that's the momentum that will keep you motivated and keep you moving forward.
I love it. Thank you. This seems like a good place to wrap up with. I think you've given lots of listeners things to do. You have so many resources. Where would someone go? I will put it in the show notes, but I'd also like them to hear it through their ears. If they're like, Megan, help me. Yes, I want help. You because you are so encouraging and supportive and helpful. And it's just like we just have to get started wherever
Yeah.
we are. And that's what I love about your work and why I love having you on the show is that you really can meet people. If they haven't walked at all, there's no shame. If they've been doing their stuff, they're Jane Fonda, they're still doing it from the, you're right there. And you're like, yes, let's add in some dynamic stretching, that sort
Yes.
of stuff. Yeah. So where can
Yeah.
they find you? And
One of the
well,
best places to just keep getting some free resources is my weekly newsletter. So
mm,
it's just called Weekly Jumpstart. It's just to help jumpstart your health. Each
love it.
week, we send out an issue on Tuesdays and Fridays. The Friday issue is called Just One Thing. So it's like
Awesome.
gives
Yeah.
you one exercise to try. And,
Oh, I
and
don't
really,
get
that's
that.
the
I'm getting that.
whole
Yeah. Okay.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go to weeklyjumpstart.com. Easy.
Okay.
Sign
Awesome.
up for that. And I just give you simple tips like this, teach you about midlife health. Specifically, it's for women in midlife. And it's just some fitness, nutrition, mindset tips. And then on
Mm,
Friday, it's just one fitness tip on
one little
Fridays.
nugget. Yeah.
So that's the easiest thing to just be like, I am so overwhelmed with all the information out there. We make it really simple. You can read it in 3 minutes.
Mm,
So that's the best place to go. And then if you're not already following me on Instagram,
yeah.
definitely do that. Just find me Megan Dahlman. My name is my handle. And every day I'm posting just some easy little exercises that you can try, just little tips and even mindset coaching that I think would really, really help inspire you each day.
Yeah, it's a really up like when we're looking at social media, like Megan isn't uplifting. I always feel better when I look at and see your
Good.
posts. So thank you. Yes. Thank
Good.
you so much for coming on and helping us all. And I'm really quite sure that whoever is listening and maybe started feeling a little overwhelmed and frustrated is now like they have something in a direction they can go and feeling more encouraged that they're not alone out here. We're all doing this. So thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you so much for having me, Susie. Really